my headspace is all over the place. There's proof. She didn't say, I'm not his wife. She didn't say, who are you talking to? That answers everything I need. He can't come up with an excuse. You have a contact that says wife, and you lied, and now you're smiling and smirking and acting like you don't care.
Can you stop? Can we be serious?
Her hands tremble as she scrolls, desperate for a breath, but there's no peace for Lisa tonight. Only the blue glow of her screen and the sting of betrayal as evidence piles up in her inbox. Because this isn't a misunderstanding or a glitch. This is a gut punch. On her contact list, as raw and undeniable as her own exhaustion, Daniel's wife chat sits between numbers she never called and names she never heard. Her daughter Faith, sitting silent and wide-eyed, has seen too much for someone her age. And still she asks the question Lisa dreads the most. Her voice almost a whisper. Did he scam you from day one? Or is this a brand new performance? Because Lisa knows the receipts don't lie. Screenshots she didn't want but needed anyway. And with every tap, she feels her old life slip further away. Welcome to Reality Sport. I'm Oliva. And honestly, if you've ever thought you had drama in your relationship, buckle up, because this is where delusion meets daylight. Go ahead and smash the subscribe if you live for this level of jaw drop, and let me know in the comments if your trust radar is screaming. Because what happens next? You won't believe how many secrets have been hiding right out in the open. Lisa's world isn't spiraling, it's rearranging itself, brick by brick, in slow motion as she realizes she might be bankrolling a love triangle she never signed up for. Every dollar she sent was supposed to be a brick in their future. But is it possible she's just footing the bill for another woman's dream? Faith has questions that burn, searching for clues in Daniel's old WhatsApp backups, that grainy chat history nobody thought to check until it was already too late, and every discovery seems to leave Lisa smaller, shrunken, and even more lost. Daniel, a master of the soft tone and sudden silence, is nowhere to be found when things explode, but his digital fingerprints are all over this mess. And for every word he says about us, there are 3 more left unsaid about her. At this point, who's scamming whom? Is Lisa the only one playing by the rules, or is there something even Faith hasn't figured out? Money trails vanish, messages go missing, promises multiply and facts evaporate. Every time Faith thinks she's found the end, a new screenshot shows up and rewrites the story. The craziest part? Lisa might not be the only one keeping dangerous secrets. Back in her small-town kitchen, Lisa stands by the window, watching the neighbors walk their dogs and water their lawns, everyone moving forward like nothing is crumbling. But inside, she's shrinking more and more every day beneath the weight of 3 jobs, mounting bills, and the knowledge she might have built her whole world on a clever lie. Her life isn't glamorous or filtered, not since her phone dings at sunrise and again at midnight, reminders of debts rising faster than her hopes. All for a man thousands of miles away, whose voice once made her feel wanted, whose little endearments now sound more like lifelines than love. Lisa's face, once bright with expectation, is drawn these days. Circles under her eyes deep and stubborn, hair now newly colored, almost as if she's hoping a change on the outside could scrub away the betrayal on the inside. Each time her phone buzzes, she hopes it's Daniel with an honest word. But more often, it's a bill collector or a passive-aggressive message that sounds off. Too sweet, too late. Faith notices the cracks before Lisa does, the way her mom's hands go still when Daniel calls, the dead look she gets after yet another ignored text. Faith's protectiveness is fierce, half guilt, half anger. She worries about her mom's heart, but also the family's future, because Lisa isn't the only one who pays for these bad choices. Each dinner, each skipped outing, is a cost. On the other side of the ocean, Daniel's messages drip in, smooth as ever. One night, you are my forever. Another, sorry baby, bad connection. He never misses a chance to say the right thing in exactly the wrong moment. Sometimes hot, sometimes cold, each call carefully timed, each excuse limping in its own way. It's artful, this dance of distance and desire, and he knows exactly when to drop affection, when to disappear, and when to double back with I miss you at 2 a.m. Quick enough to make Lisa's doubt go soft at the edges. The thing is, Online love can feel as real as it is confusing. Lisa was vulnerable, open, always believing the next call would be different. For a while, Daniel seemed worth every risk, a bold move into a future she never thought would begin again. But those little red flags she rolled her eyes at before now parade through her mind at night. The calls that cut out at the same hour, the payments always needed in cash, the constant push to do things his way. All she wanted was someone to see her. But is it love? Or the oldest trick in the book? Lisa's debts add up, hidden in folders she can't bring herself to open anymore. She signed up for overtime, took extra shifts, convinced herself she'd catch up soon. Meanwhile, Daniel's requests never stop. Each one urgent, each one for their dreams. Faith remembers her mom with energy, hope, her laugh echoing through the house, but now there's tension. Whispered arguments about money, about trust, about whether any of this is real. Late at night, Faith rereads Daniel's old messages, sometimes wondering if she's the only one connecting dots, if maybe there's something more sinister she's missing. She's seen her mom get heartbroken before, but nothing like this. The emotional load isn't hers, but she shoulders it anyway, sending messages to Nigerian numbers, tracking down clues in hours of desperate scrolling. Daniel, for his part, keeps his stories thin but frequent, offering up just enough to make Lisa question her gut one more time. Money goes missing. Screenshots show a different truth every week. The calls start to sound more scripted, the gaps between them stretch longer. Faith starts saving everything. Every old chat, every email password. Lisa tries to believe love could survive this, but her faith is running on fumes. Trust, once spent, doesn't refill easy. Why did Daniel's tone always flip when money came up? Why did his attention spike after every new transfer? Lisa can't forget the wife in his contacts. She can't forget the pressure to look, act, and spend exactly how he wants. Faith's private suspicions multiply as Daniel's voice goes softer. The world is telling Lisa to walk, but nothing hurts more than asking yourself if you ever mattered at all. The price of trust is everything you have to give, sometimes even your own peace of mind, and Oliva here, you can feel the ache in every choice they made. And if you think this mess is about to slow down, you're about to regret hitting pause, because what Faith finds next will change everything they thought they knew. Faith sits hunched over her laptop, squinting at a list of phone numbers and contact names that make less sense the longer she stares. Her fingers fly over the keyboard, toggling between Daniel's email, his old backup SEMS logs, and the contact labeled wife chat. It sticks out like a sore thumb. And no matter how many times she opens the thread, there's no denying what it says. The number is Nigerian, the conversation short and clipped, as if designed to hide just enough, and Faith's stomach drops when she notices Daniel hasn't just talked to this wife, he's been careful about deleting pieces of chat history, always one step ahead of her snooping. Each new discovery twists the knife deeper. Lisa's money, counted and recounted until the numbers blur, seems to have vanished into thin air, and the receipts don't match the stories Daniel wove in their late-night calls. One payment, then another, all for visa paperwork, emergency hospital bills, moving expenses. Faith's eyes roll. How many emergencies can one man have before someone starts to smell the audacity? She flips to Daniel's sent folder, scanning his carefully worded emails, each one slightly too perfect, canned lines about love and trust that go to Lisa. Then another string sent to a barely hidden baby contact, a pattern that's harder to ignore the further she digs. Lisa watches from the kitchen table, hope draining from her face every time Faith announces another name, another number, another loose end. Somewhere between heartbreak and humiliation, you see the light start to die a bit in her eyes. Not just heartbreak, but the raw embarrassment at having cared so much, spent so much, trusted so completely. Yet every time Daniel senses trouble, he dials in the charm, switching from distant boyfriend to desperate lover faster than you'd believe. His tone syrupy, his promises big, his memory suspiciously patchy. One day he's angry Lisa doesn't trust him, swearing he's been faithful. The next, he's laughing off Faith's questions, shifting blame, spinning the spotlight back to Lisa's own past mistakes, as if she's the one keeping secrets. But as the cracks widen, it gets harder for anyone to play innocent. Faith, honestly, would love to believe her mom's side, but when she sees those wife chat messages, how can she confidently say Daniel isn't double timing them both? Lisa wants to cling to the idea that somewhere, some version of Daniel truly loved her. But all she can see now are holes in his alibi, money transferred, gifts sent, and those same sweet lines finding their way to someone else. Daniel's game isn't smooth anymore. It's clumsy, overplayed, dripping with theater. Yet still, when he's cornered, he never outright denies the word wife. He dodges, jokes, throws guilt, makes Lisa question her own instincts. And in the middle of it all, Faith is left wondering who's really being ruthless here. The man spinning the web, or the woman who refuses to walk away until every strand snaps. Every time you're ready to blame one side, there's a new angle, a new piece of dirt, and every player's mask is slipping. Lisa's naivete, Daniel's dodges, Faith's protectiveness, they all muddy the truth until nobody's completely clean. The emotional labor, the late-night confessions, every little I love you now feels like a borrowed line. And behind the scenes, you can almost hear Daniel smirk as he waits to see who'll fall for the next trick. If you thought this drama was messy before, keep watching. Because with these three, every answer opens up three more brutal questions. The call connects with a lag and a pixelated blur. But Lisa's jaw is tight, her back straight, eyes locked on Daniel's face through the cheap camera lens, not even pretending to smile. The air is heavy, full of words nobody wants to say. And for a moment, Daniel's whole vibe is calm. A soft little grin perched on his lips as if he thinks this is all a misunderstanding or a game he's learned to win. But Lisa barely blinks. Her hand is shaking, her heart probably drumming so loud Daniel could hear it if he cared enough. But what's louder is the sound of Faith pacing just out of view. Voice messages poised, receipts lined up, ready to feed her mom lines if Daniel tries to twist facts again. The first thing Daniel does is call her baby. The same tired line that once made Lisa blush, but now sounds empty. The word twisting in the air before it drops to the kitchen tile between them. He tells her she's overthinking, that people are out to break up their love, that she should listen to her heart, not outside noise. He says the Nigerian number, the wife chat in his contacts, is nothing, a business partner or a prank by an old friend, his laugh a shade too hollow to land. Lisa stays silent, lets him burble, watches as his face flickers from playful to annoyed when he realizes she isn't buying the charm anymore. Every forced grin makes more cracks show through his mask. Her answer is a screenshot, dragged slowly into view. Her proof, the unarguable kind, time-stamped and ugly. For a second, Daniel's mouth stutters open, eyes dart to the side as if searching for a script. He freezes, blames the connection, fidgets with his hoodie. The list of numbers, the messages, the wife label, all stare him down through the screen. He tries to flip it back, asks Lisa why she's spying, why she's letting Faith turn her against him. He claims she must be insecure, that the real problem is she refuses to trust, and in that moment, gaslights so hard the room feels colder. The excuses come thick and fast. He forgot who the contact was. He meant to delete it months ago. Maybe it was Lisa who put it there, he jokes, eyes glittering with denial. Lisa snaps back, her voice hoarse, pulling out callback after callback. Remember when you vanished for 3 days after I sent rent? Remember the emergency that only cleared up when I threatened to stop sending cash? Daniel goes quiet, then laughs, tries softness again, tells her he loves her the most, always has. Through every excuse, Faith's phone buzzes, ready with another fact to shoot down Daniel's shifting story. But then there it is, a hesitation. A split second where Lisa looks away, unsure, and the thought flashes, did she miss something? Was she always this innocent? Or was she dodging her own truths for too long? Daniel throws it at her, says she's no angel, asks why all the debt. Did she come to him for money too, hoping for escape? The screen feels tight, the accusations suddenly two-sided. Maybe Faith isn't seeing it all either. Maybe both her parents built this disaster together, brick by brick. But as Daniel's charm act runs dry, Lisa stands up a bit straighter and tells him this is the last call. Her voice cracks, but she doesn't blink. She tells him she's done falling for apologies, done letting Faith see her humiliated, done being played for a fool by a man who won't even admit the contacts in his own phone. Daniel asks if she's serious, tries to laugh it off one more time, but the room feels finished. Lisa's eyes are dry. This is her last threat, and this time, she sounds ready to mean it. But before you even process her words, you have to wonder, what's Daniel going to do now that the act is up? And what if Lisa has one last secret of her own she's not ready to confess? After the calls go dead and the curtains close, reality comes back in raw and uneven waves. Lisa's side of the bed colder than ever, phones silent except for automated bill reminders and late-night notifications she mostly ignores now. The money's gone, and the shame sticks harder than loss ever could. 3 jobs weren't enough to plug the leaks left by Daniel's charm and her own open-hearted stubbornness. Each shift blurs into the next. She never thought heartbreak could have a balanced due. But her bank app promises otherwise, numbers dipping lower, her credit card flagged, her name whispered in family group chats by relatives who used to marvel at her grit but now just lower their eyes. Lisa's sleepless nights stack up, eyes burning from tears she swears she won't shed again, and suddenly, it's her teenage daughter making grown-up choices, scanning receipts, counting meals, setting alarms to make sure Lisa gets up in the morning. Faith's promise to fix everything is impossible, and nobody blames her for trying. But she carries the tension in her shoulders anyway, learning too much about adult regret before she can even rent a car. There's no villain here. Only loneliness and hope tangled up, stories shared in late-night texts that sound honest until you step back and see the pattern for what it is. People ask why Lisa didn't run when the lies first showed. They ask if she was desperate, foolish, or just too forgiving. But the truth is softer and sadder. For every person who falls for a sweet lie, there's a moment when being wanted feels better than being smart. Lisa isn't greedy or blind. She was tired of being invisible, of waiting for her happy ending to knock twice. Even after the receipts stacked up, even after her friends rolled their eyes and her coworkers whispered in break rooms, she wanted to believe Daniel could be as good as he seemed when the light hit just right. Daniel's story outside the calls doesn't add up either. His public social snaps look generic. Stock sunsets, anonymous dinners, coded hashtags. One tagged friend here, a cousin there. Nothing concrete. No signs of a wife, but no proof he's been single either. Always vague, always public enough to keep suspicions blurry. The risk of throwing your life to someone online, culture gaps, time zones, visa promises, and the nagging sense that maybe, if you'd paid better attention, the ending wouldn't feel so shared. The heartbreak isn't finished. Lisa and Faith are still learning how to forgive themselves, still sidestepping the question of what comes next, still watching old photos and wondering if the person in them ever stood a chance. If you trace Daniel's words from the very first DM to the last desperate call, you start to notice a rhythm that looks less like love and more like a pattern. One part sweet talk, one part evasion, the details always shifting, always a step away from the raw truth. He sends miss you at sunrise, need you after sunset, plays the distance card when questions get sharp, and promises the moon every time Lisa's resolve starts to wobble. Daniel's kindness feels so genuine, so specific, that for a moment you might believe he's lonely too, reaching across time zones not because he wants to hurt anyone, but because online, hope sells better than honesty. But every single message is carefully turned. Not one typo, never a picture that proves anything concrete, just enough intimacy to distract, just enough sweetness to keep Lisa in orbit. Look closer, and Daniel's avoidance strategy comes into focus. Ask about money, he blames bureaucracy. Ask about the wife contact, he jokes and changes the subject. It's fluent, practiced, almost reflexive. When the chats leaked into the family group and reality TV accounts started connecting dots, Daniel's friends didn't come out in his defense. Some backed away, calling it all fake news, blocking Lisa and Faith when things got awkward. Others slid into Lisa's DMs with vague references to past dramas, warning her she was hardly the first woman to trust a cute stranger and find out too late she'd been buying a fantasy. The saddest part? Even people who should know better hesitate before saying outright that Daniel's a scammer. Everyone's afraid of missing the nuance. What if he meant it? Some of the time. What if he, too, wanted something real but didn't know how to be honest without risking the game? Online sleuths pick through his public posts, matching up timestamps and cross-checking tagged friends. They found nothing on a legal marriage, but way too many inconsistencies for comfort. One day he's celebrating with my family, the next he's sharing memes about living alone, about hustle, about sacrifices for love. Every time Lisa begged for clarity, his responses were extra poetic, the answers so wide open you could drive a truck through the ambiguity. All those sweet lines sound less like declarations, more like borrowed lines he's used before, softer than real life, optimized for screenshot, and when one relationship burns out, he can always recycle a few compliments for whoever's next. But here's what cracks people wide open. Most scams don't start out as full-blown con jobs. There's loneliness driving both sides, and not just the soft kind, crippling, bruising loneliness that feeds off promises, real conversations, and the fantasy that tomorrow might be different. When Daniel invested in Lisa's trust, maybe even he convinced himself that her attention meant safety, security, or a ticket to somewhere brighter. Lisa's story isn't all fairy tale or cautionary tale. It's not about stupidity or greed. It's about how hope mutates under pressure, how the stories we tell ourselves can become bigger than reality itself. Every accidental confession, every bit of avoidance, every dodged question becomes evidence as Lisa replays chats and voice notes in her head at night, hoping for a new answer and finding the same dead ends. She wonders out loud if the love felt good sometimes. Was it all a lie? Can someone scam you and still mean it some days? And even if Daniel's version of love is shaped by self-improvement influencers and survival instinct, is that any better than conscious manipulation? For every family member who drags Lisa's name in comment sections, there are quiet, late-night messages from strangers who say they know what it's like to want so much to believe. Some online voices tell her to walk away and forgive herself. Others blame her for not digging deeper, but nobody knows the details except the two stuck replaying memories on endless loop. The scams always seem so obvious in hindsight, except to the people inside them. If you look at Daniel's logic from the outside, maybe he thought all the rules were negotiable as long as he could keep everyone believing. Maybe wife was a technicality, an old flame, a loophole, or a joke that was never funny outside his head. When trusted love gets weaponized, every answer has a price. Lisa is left holding all the receipts, but Daniel gets to choose what's real and what's rewritten for the next person willing to believe. Lisa's public story is only part of it. Behind the tears and the tired eyes, she's held on to something she's never shared, a part of her own behavior she's not ready to put in front of the cameras. Faith senses it too. Hovers by the door when Lisa gets quiet, wonders how many secrets get lost when two people want to believe in each other more than the facts add up. Because sometimes the hardest truth isn't what someone did to you, it's what you're willing to hide from yourself. And nothing's more dangerous than a secret that's too heavy to say out loud. Faith reads her mom like an open book, noticing each long pause, half-truth, and fading smile as Lisa scrolls through her memory just as anxiously as any phone screen. For weeks, Faith has been the guardian, hunting Daniel's lies, but now even she can feel it. A different weight. Questions she's never asked her mom directly. The suspicion that maybe this whole drama didn't start with one bad swipe or one charming stranger. It starts with a notification Faith never planned to see, a message request from someone tied to Daniel's Nigeria circle, a woman whose profile is blank, no friends, no posts, nothing but a phone number that connects straight to another wife chat name in Daniel's contacts. When Faith pushes for answers, Lisa gives a vague shrug, something about not airing family business, and Faith realizes for the first time just how much her mom's past is locked up behind a careful smile. Lisa tells herself she was always honest with Daniel, But as the morning radio hums in the background and she checks her old emails for the 10th time, the inconsistencies become impossible to ignore. Sure, she never outright lied. Not in the way Daniel did, not in the way that deletes trust pixel by pixel, but there were moments, long before Daniel entered her life, when Lisa's own stories were edited for comfort. Old hurts, ex-boyfriends, maybe even legal baggage she downplayed, spun to sound less complicated than the truth. She didn't want to be judged another time over, didn't want her pain to look pathetic to someone she wanted desperately to impress. Was it a crime to smooth over scars, to present herself as someone easier to love? Most people do it in some form. But now, with Faith picking through everything, the cost of that soft dishonesty has gone through the roof. On a hunch, Faith sets up a private chat under a fake name and texts Daniel's wife contact herself, leading with innocent questions, hoping for a casual mistake. She's methodical, matching time zone differences, testing response times, watching for anything that hints at a pattern. The answers are odd, sometimes blunt, sometimes almost robotic. Who is this? And lose my number? Toggling between suspicion and indifference, but each reply gets screenshotted, time-stamped, logged away. When Faith shares her findings, Lisa's face shifts, from shock to quiet resignation, as if part of her suspected all along that she wasn't the only woman hoping for a real connection. The twist only deepens the hole. Lisa admits, more to herself than to Faith, that her pattern with partners often crumbled along the same fault lines. She rushed, gave too much, hid just enough, wanting to control the story, but always landing in someone else's playbook. She's always picked men who dangle hope with one hand and keep the other clamped on a secret. Daniel wasn't her first online romance or her first long-distance heartbreak. In fact, her friends know a dozen late-night calls where Lisa ignored advice, tuning out red flags because she wanted the future to look a little less empty, a little more certain. Did that history make her an easy target? Or did it give her an edge nobody counted on? Faith wonders if her mom would ever have told Daniel she was married herself, if the shoe had been on the other foot, or would she have played at truth the same way, hiding skeletons until the clock ran out? And is that really so different from what Daniel's doing now? Viewers watching from home sense the tension, wondering when the next bombshell will drop. And the chat is lit with speculation about both sides. Lisa for holding grudges, Daniel for ducking every real question. Was Daniel married to this other woman for love? For passport paperwork? Or social standing? Was it even a legal marriage? Or the kind born out of convenience in countries with flexible records and fluid definitions? Each new theory stirs a frenzy, TikTok detectives and YouTube sleuths pulling receipts from social posts none of the core players have even seen yet, debating whether Daniel's wife would ever come forward or if the whole scam was orchestrated by a team, not just one lonely guy behind a screen. As mistrust multiplies, nobody looks blameless. Lisa's edits and evasions, were they survival or strategy? If she played innocent, was that just for Daniel or for herself too, rewriting her own heartache until it sounded like hope? Faith is the only one who seems relentless in seeking out uncomfortable truth, not because she's immune to pain, but because she refuses to let her mom become a quiet tragedy. She shades between loyalty and skepticism, sending proof back and forth to people she barely knows, still grasping for that one scrap of clarity that will let her sleep at night. Sometimes her phone buzzes at 3 a.m, a new tip, another unconfirmed story. Another night, Lisa can't bring herself to hit sleep mode. And Daniel, slippery as ever, keeps falling back on the power of ambiguity. For every accusation, there's a joke, a pivot, a double back that leaves more questions behind than he answers. When pressed on the marriage, he swears it's all a mix-up, that Westerners don't understand how things work in Nigeria. He claims Lisa is overreacting, that Faith is just trying to come between them, that obsession with the wife label is what ruins good love these days. Maybe he's right, or maybe he's bluffing deeper than anyone's realized. Every episode, every update, the certainty shifts. Viewers start to wonder if even the saddest stories are stained by secrets on both ends. Who walked in innocent, and who walked away with eyes wide open? Lisa isn't the sob story people want, and Daniel isn't the mastermind he pretends at times. If this is chess, nobody has the full board, and both keep playing as if they've got the real plan tucked away, just a few moves from checkmate. The suspicion doesn't settle, it only gets sharper, harder to shake, the line between victim and player erasing a little more with every new reveal. No matter where it started, nobody in this story is leaving untouched. And with every secret that comes out, you have to wonder which one will finally break the spell for good. The moment the cameras roll, you can taste the tension in the air. Lisa's jaw set so firm you almost hear her teeth grind. Daniel's eyes darting like a man bracing for a car crash, both talking over each other, but for the first time there's no slow walk to the truth, just grenade after grenade. Of accusations, receipts flung across the screen rapid fire. Lisa calls out the money trails, every half-truth. Every night she lay waiting for an apology that never came, while Daniel scrambles to look calm, spouting apologies that feel automated, clutching his narrative like a life raft, insisting he never lied, only miscommunicated. The producers prod for more tears, more raw wounds, and Lisa, refusing to blink, lays out her screenshots for the world to see, voice fierce and small all at once. But the script changes when Faith storms in, dropping proof Lisa didn't have. Texts from the wife contact no one knew she'd found. Her questions laser-focused and merciless. The room turns cold. Everyone silent for the split second it takes for Daniel's face to drop. A flash of truth, regret, or calculation. Nobody can say. Each answer is a trap. Lisa demanding closure. Daniel weaving a story that sounds both plausible and poisonous. Faith refusing to let either walk away blameless. Suddenly, it's not just about cheating or lies, but about needing something real from anyone willing to listen. A twist peels back the score. Lisa admits she hid pain too. Daniel confesses pieces he's never said, and for a moment, both look exhausted, haunted. Not by each other, but by everything they hoped for and never got. Nobody wins, but everyone's finally a little honest, and as the red light clicks off, viewers sit on the edge of sympathy and anger, wondering how many stories break like this, aching and half-true, and what Lisa's next move will even be. Days pass with an eerie stillness in Lisa's home, the kind that makes every small sound feel louder. Her phone lighting up with a new credit alert, the heavy quiet at dinner where laughter used to live, Faith scrolling in the next room. Less a child, more a silent partner in the business of. Moving on. Lisa's face in the mirror looks older, her voice steadier and occasionally sharper, but what's new is the refusal to retreat. She picks up extra shifts, pays down cards, deletes Daniel's number, but there's a freedom in the clearing out, a space where shame used to crowd her every thought. Her family, embarrassed but loyal, pushes her to step outside the narrative. She's not desperate, not defeated. She's rebuilding from the ugly, real ground up, and even if it's hard, it's finally her life again. Faith adapts fast, forming new armor out of heartbreak and screenshots. She finds her own friends reaching out to her, not for gossip, but for help spotting trouble signs. Overnight, she's gone from skeptic to expert. If pain had a benefit, it's the unshakable instinct to set boundaries early, to ask for receipts in love and friendship both, to see the signals for what they are, late replies, secret contacts, bland apologies that dodge specifics. She and Lisa now have unspoken rules and sharper humor, less trusting but wiser, both a bit more ready for whatever's next. Daniel fades quietly from public view. Online profiles stripped down to generic posts, the big romantic declarations swapped for motivational quotes nobody takes as gospel. Friends detach or ask cautious questions, rumors swirl in group chats, but he insists the story was always complicated, that both sides misunderstood. Whether he learns anything is its own question, and whether he misses Lisa or simply the comfort of her faith is another nobody can answer. The lessons are hard and practical. Scams are not always greedy, not always strange. Sometimes they echo perfectly all the things you already want to hear. Lisa and Faith talk openly now about boundaries. about signals they'll never ignore again, about how survival sometimes means knowing when to walk, no more ghosts, no more unfinished confessions. But on a rainy night, as Lisa checks through an old drawer for overdue medical bills, she finds a letter she wrote, but never sent. One where she apologizes not for loving the wrong person, but for not trusting herself from the start. Sometimes the last secret isn't about Daniel at all. It's about finally admitting what you knew all along. And that kind of honesty is the only real closure you'll ever get. If you thought the drama was over, the next twist will prove nobody's ever finished writing their story. Routines shatter and ripple far beyond one family when a love story explodes online. Lisa's DMs fill with support from strangers who saw their own bad luck in her tears, while others judge hard, calling her naive or asking why she didn't know better. Facebook groups break down every frame of the tell-all, picking sides, guessing at timelines, arguing over who broke first, Lisa or Daniel. The takes are endless, and as the buzz builds, new information seeps out from unlikely places. Faith, still hungry for answers, swaps tips with online sleuths and makes it her mission to track every last trace of Daniel's digital footprints. Each clue only multiplies the mystery, especially when a woman surfaces claiming to be Daniel's ex, and a cousin in Lagos hints there's always been more wives than receipts. The roller coaster of emotion won't stop. Lisa's devastation after that first wife chat reveal, Faith's bruised loyalty, Daniel's slippery charm, they each left marks on everyone watching, turning private shame into public theater that nobody can look away from. But the betrayals keep twisting. Lisa hears whispers from friends that legal papers could be in play. Did Daniel ever actually marry her in Nigeria, or was that a trick too? Faith's research finds odd paperwork and hidden government links, matching Lisa's name to Daniel's in a registry. But the details are blurred, half redacted. Suddenly, Lisa's not just an ex, but maybe technically still a wife, while Daniel's family goes public in a viral call-in show, declaring he was misunderstood and vowing to reclaim his side of the story. Every new reveal feels like gasoline on a fire. The community demands justice and answers. Lisa's future is uncertain as she debates her next step. Faith refuses to rest until every question is settled. And Daniel's family keeps promising to drop their own evidence with claims of staged scenes and secret deals. Secrets aren't finished leaking out, not by a mile. You think you've seen the worst of these betrayals, but there's one voice who hasn't spoken yet. One piece of the puzzle that will flip everything upside down. If you can handle the chaos about to break wide open, don't miss what comes next. Because the final bombshell will not only shock you, it'll change how you see every love story that ever started with a single text.